Hi, Alan. How are you? Thank you for having us with you. Thank you for giving us your time. It will be great to speak about your new album.
No problem.
Well, first
Sure.
and all,
Let's do it.
thank you, thank you. First and all, could you tell us what will you say will be the personal mark that how it ends will leave and that will make people remember it compared to the rest of the band's discography? This obviously, in your opinion.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's primordial. It's this, it's we're still fighting from the same trench that we dug 30 years ago. It's not going to, you know, it's a fucking electronic album. We're not going to surprise you with incredibly different things, but it's the biggest thing with a band when you've been going for a long time is to be able to step outside the boundaries of the band and consider to yourself, do we still sound like we mean it? Do we still sound like we have conviction? And that's the biggest test. And so here on album number 10, objectively, I think to be able to step outside what the band is, then yes, we still sound like a band with conviction and energy and with intent, with things to say, and it still sounds vibrant. And so those are the things. Whether if you thought we were boring before, you're still going to think we're boring. That's fine, you know. But if you were a big fan before, I don't think it's going to disappoint you. The album is a bit more epic metal than the last one. It's a bit more angry. It's a bit more defiant. I think it will give people a bit more of that old school heavy metal adrenaline rush than maybe Exile Among the Ruins did. But I don't know. It's up to you to figure out, I guess.
Okay, okay, great. And actually, some of the things that you mentioned comes for the next question, which is that you are a band with a very consistent trajectory, and that's something your fans really thank. And after more than 30 years, and reaching an album number 10, which I think it's also because I already heard it, which I think it doesn't disrupt the consistency of your trajectory. So, what would you say is your key as a band to maintain the scent and at the same time keep current?
Um, we don't really worry about keeping current. I mean, Primordial is an old band now. It's middle aged. I mean, but so is heavy metal and all of these things. So we don't really worry about being current because I don't think any of us could be current even if we tried. And that counts for almost the whole scene. um, what does current mean anyway? I suppose. Um, Primordial is a band who is not a professional band. We do things when we have to do them. Sorry, we don't do things because we have to. We do things because that urge is upon you, the need to be creative. And we don't make a living from it. We don't have to go on tour. We don't really have to do anything. So everyone has their own life around the band. The band is like an institution in your life, an old, creaky, dusty institution. Um, Sometimes isn't open when you want it, and sometimes you don't want to get letters from it telling you to come in and do some work, and but the building still stands. And when we all get together, we have to be in the same room. I'm in the rehearsal room now. We have to be with each other, arguing, fighting, laughing, whatever else, catching up. We're analog men living in a kind of digital world, and so on those terms, the key to sort of longevity in a band is learning what to give a fuck about and learning what not to give a fuck about. And also when it's time to not be around, when it's time to just put the band on the shelf and just leave it there for a while. So yeah, it's hard to say. We have an Irish sort of mentality and approach to these things as well. So who knows? Other than we're slowly moving around this ball of dirt until the last day comes. Then who knows?
Okay, great. And did you experimented with something different to get the sound and feeling of this recording, or you just kept doing working the same?
No, it's just, I mean, look, primordial rehearsals have existed the same way since '91. You're in the room. It's just instead of a cassette recorder in the middle of the floor, you have your phone. Personally, if I could set everything up and do everything live, and that's it, that's the way I would do it. I don't enjoy the studio much. Well, I enjoy it. I like it, but I'm not have much patience. I like spontaneous things. If this is the rehearsal, if we could set up and record the album in one fucking day and do it live, we should be able to. If Black Sabbath can do this, something similar in 1969 or 70 or whatever, or I'm more interested. I want things to be like Welcome to Hell, or, the Misfits or something. I'm not really interested in all the modern technological advancements of recording. So when we record, it's analog as much as we can, live, no metronome, no cutting and pasting, no tempo mapping, no nothing like this. It's amps, it's not plugins. You need to play in this old-fashioned way. Use proper drums. Nothing is replaced, no hit is replaced. And so that's why it sounds old. For me, the best sounding records are from about 1972 to 1987, just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And so if I can have the drum sound from Overkill and the toms from the Ides of March, then that's what I would prefer. But anyway, Martin Birch is dead, I'm afraid. So it's make an album is just a snapshot of that moment where you were at that time. It shouldn't be perfect. You shouldn't even strive for perfection, in my opinion. It should be more about character than perfection. The flaws are what give it its human touch. And so that's why Primordial sounds the way it does,
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And you have been with Metal Blade Records for almost 20 years. Will you say they contribute somehow to this consistent band history, and how?
Since 2006, actually. So, yeah, I mean, look, back in the day, the old boss, Michael Trengard, rest in power to Michael, the much missed Michael Trengard. He took a risk and he signed us. We were kind of this outlier, sort of pagan black metal band. He signed us, and we grew then with the Gathering Wilderness with Metal Blade, and they were integral to our process. And yeah, look, great people. The last independent, genuinely independent record labels out there compared to some of the other big ones. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the role of a record label has changed a lot since we started. I'm not exactly sure how to define some of it sometimes. Like I said, I'm a sort of analog guy living in a digital world, trying to do my best to maneuver at the process. But no, I mean, Metal Blade has been there with the band as it's grown in our process. And they never, contrary to what people might think of a big label, they never interfere. They never ask, oh, can you please do this or that? We just do what we do. They've never said, oh, you must have artwork like this or must do this or that or the other. They've never said a thing. So we just do what we do. We're a strange band for Metal Blade, but as in sonically, nothing else on the label really sounds like us. But, we all grew up with all those classic records from the 80s, Siratonga, Trouble, Armored Saint, Fate's Warning. So, yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's we've kind of grown together. Now we're, middle-aged. Oh, in fact, they're older than we are already. So, yeah, no, it's been a rewarding process, So there you go.
Okay, great. You have said before in the interview and also in other interviews that Primordial is not a band that plans when to create a record, but creates the way it comes to you guys. However, do you have a band's personal ritual before showtime? And I don't mean only for live shows, but also when you get to studio, or was there something special? Yeah, something like that. Something special you perform when recording?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, I'm not a man who likes to fuck around in the studio. I won't go over something again and again and again and again. I just get annoyed and frustrated. I'm likely to go, fuck it. That will, it is what it is. If it was meant with intent, I don't give a shit if it's out of key or a bit out of time. That's the way everyone is. I think, for me at least, you need to feel very focused and energizing. You 2 or 3, 4 hours of really, really hard work. And like, I'll do the singing for the whole album in a day and a half if I can. I'll try and do some songs are even one take. And if it sounds right, fuck it, leave it. Sometimes you improvise things at the end. People say, well, sometimes they come to the lyrics and go, the lyrics in the lyric sheet are different to the lyrics in the album. I go, yeah, well, I improvised some bits, or whatever came out, came out. I'm not a man who go over and over with repetition. Some people like that, that's fine. And it's good that other people in the band are like that. You know, Kieran works for hours and hours about his stuff, but we all have a kind of an attitude of some part of music recording should be instinct. You follow your instinct and you trust in yourself as a musician to know when the end of the vocal bit should go, or, you know, when to come in on the next thing with something you haven't rehearsed, or, you know, as for playing live, I mean, of course, putting on all the stuff and it is part of the tradition of this kind of music and tradition of Primordial. And, you know, I'm not going to use the words ritual, etc., but it's ritualistic in the sense that it's a very great focus for your energy, and it's a very great focus for what you are about to do. And that is the, you know, the communion of music art, which has a meaning, with the people who are, you know, living that moment with you, which is a very, is an esoteric and beautiful thing. And we shouldn't underestimate it, you know. And so putting on all that kind of stuff, to becoming the Jekyll to the Hyde, you know, whatever you say, Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde, still the same person, with that other side of the, you know, dark side of the moon kind of thing, whatever you want to say. I'm not sure what the right analogies were. Is a precious and sort of sacred kind of thing. And so I'm not one of those guys who will be all out, oh, we must perform a, you know, it's a ritual, that, because that was very popular 10 years ago to say everything was a ritual. I'm not that guy, but I'm also not the guy to say it doesn't matter either. I think the truth is that it does have elements of the ritualistic and some sort of esoteric meaning to it. And it's a very great focus for your energy. And the thing that I live for is that moment of stepping out on the stage in the music industry. That's what I prefer than being in the studio. But they both have their merits. They both have the things that are essential to either, you know.
Okay, great. And as a band, have your sources of inspiration changed in the last 30 years up to now, and how? And I don't mean necessarily about lyrics, but I mean but what comes from inside of you that inspires you, and that sent from inside of you, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're fairly different set of carbons and atoms, aren't you, since you were when you were a 16-year-old man. I joined the band when I was 16. To say that I would have different influences now at 16, of course you do. You grow. You were immature back then. Some would say still now, but of course you're different. The things that inspire you when you're a teenager compared to now are very different. But I think essentially there's something fundamentally the same, and that is the pursuit of something that is honest in its intent at that moment. Now that intent might be, you know, naive or flawed or connected to youthful energy or impetuosity, but it's an honest thing. That's what you're trying to strive for. So on those terms, no, I think the intent is still the same, just you're a different kind of person. But there's still that. You still got to have that childlike kind of kinetic energy connecting you to the way you used to love music. If you still don't get the, you know, the goosebumps and the adrenaline rush, when you hit the lights every now and again after you've had a few beers or whatever it is, you've got to keep hold of some of that useful and not become too cynical and jaded. And as for the musical stuff, it's still the same things that I grew up with that inspire me. And I do add more things, you know, that I'm not one of those guys whose record collection ends in 94. But, you know, still the things that inspire me are the energy of the Merciful Fates and Venoms and Hellhammer and, you know, I mentioned like Misfits and all that old stuff that I grew up with, Maiden and stuff. But then, of course, there's new things that I hear now that blow me away. And I'm thankful that they exist. But I think again, a bit of column A, a bit of column B, like a book from different parts of the shelf. You need to keep a few things at the same time.
Actually, I was going to ask you if some of those books behind you have inspired you, or have you taken them to like base on them for lyrics or something.
I'll tell you what, this is our rehearsal room. This is our rehearsal room, but it doesn't belong to us. But some of these books are very, very fucking old. The owners of this brilliant place that we rehearse in, this is an old Irish, like late 18th century, I suppose, manor house or whatever. And this is the kind of overflow of their bookshelf. It's quite rare anybody would see this. It just seemed to be the best backdrop for this conversation. But some of these books are fucking, some of them are pressings from like 1857 and 1850. I mean, there's a couple of,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Like, where can you see this?
Okay.
Like some of the stuff this is a Bible. And this is from, look at this fucking stuff.
Okay, it's handwritten.
Look at this all handwritten notes. Yeah, and this is from, give me one moment. This is not part of the interview that you would have imagined.
No, but it's great.
Okay, this is collected on the 21st of March, 1831. You can see at the top of that.
1831.
1831. And this is a Bible. And these are just here in our rehearsal room. Yeah, it is, of course, to be around something this old and this beautiful is inspiring. Yeah, I rehearse on the corner over there.
Yeah,
and this is my view.
I suppose having those.
For sure, there are things. Yeah, for sure there are things. There are things. You're writing songs and people are hanging around outside and stuff. You'll take a book off here and just, there's passages and moments even in the new album of a couple of little lines I've gone, oh, that's nice. I'll just steal some little inspiration from that. But yeah, no, it's there you go. I don't think anybody would ever get this little segment in an interview, but yeah, it's very inspiring. And so much of this stuff is very, very old, as you see, 1831. Anyway, sorry, go on with your conversation.
No, it's okay. It's great. And actually, watching that old Bible, has some relation to the next question, because the title of the album is How It Ends. And this is something you have explained before. It's how the things for humanity, everything and nothing at the same time, comes to an end for humanity. However, like that book which is getting rusted and getting old. However, I must ask, and maybe this is not the first time that you get this question, but is there any hidden message on this album title sentence? Something that we, the followers, should be afraid about related to the band?
No, not really. We have to acknowledge the band is old. We are in the band is middle-aged now as well, and that there's only X amount of times left where, the law of diminishing returns. Eventually you return to the well and it's dry. How many years left are in the band? I don't know. I don't think it's the end of the band, but someday it will be. No, the title is really about, like I was saying to someone else, if To the Nameless Dead was about the movement of state, establishment of borders, and that sometimes people who are just eclipsed, who are part of that, pick an ancient tribe, the Limburgians or something, just whoosh, gone, or, in these nation state shuffle. This album is about the people within those empires and colonies who resisted, the outlaws, the rebels. It's a kind of album for the downtrodden, almost a bit like a working class album or something like this on some level. It's about the people who resisted empire, resisted colony, even if they were doomed. So it's kind of the theme is around liberty and doomed resistance, doomed rebellion, even in almost in a romantic way. Doesn't matter from the left or the right, or neither. Heroes within those things could be either or. Like only yesterday, I was reading about this brother and sister, I think the Scholls they were called, who were beheaded in Munich, I think in 1942 by the Nazis for distributing flyers on campus, you know. And so the album is kind of, what were they called, like the swing kids, who were like kids who were into American music and jazz, who were sort of, had their own group against, the fascism and stuff. I don't know. I'm just really inspired and really interested in for this album the kind of doomed rebellion, and it's kind of me saying, in a way, look back through history at these incredible people who gave their lives knowing for some greater cause, and who's that now? Who is that now? As society seems to me to move towards more authoritarianism, asking and inviting unelected, technocratic, transnational corporations to for our safety and stuff. So it's, again, I don't want to write a kind of lockdown, say what you see, kind of simplistic lyrical record. So this album has a bit more of the romantic about it, a bit kind of like, as I said, doomed romance of heroic failure entwined in it, whether you're from Peru or Palestine or Belarus or Ireland or whatever, you should see your folk heroes within it. And so it's that's where it's trying to come from. And it's a kind of like, it really is an album that has this sort of feeling for me of speaking about the downtrodden, the people who risk it all against authoritarianism. And that might surprise some people, but that's the feeling that the album is one of kind of like doomed defiance, So and part of it for sure was, there's some of those kind of people are here, their books are here, people who died young, I mean, like right behind me, I mean, you have
Okay,
Byron,
yeah, sure.
Lord Byron, Lord Byron
Very,
peeking out of the shells at me.
he was very chaste.
Not exactly what I'm talking about, but definitely a folk hero. So very inspiring. And the album I wasn't quite sure the vein that it was all going to go. And then it started to take shape around these kind of doomed folk heroes. So there you go. Sorry, I'm distracted by that now. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, and
You
I
could be
think
here
we
all
are,
day looking at.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. And well, I think as a last question, because we are running out of time, um,
Sure.
any plans of making a tour on any Spanish-speaking country, Spain, Latin America?
Yeah, I mean, we only managed to play 3 gigs in South America the last time. We're trying to get there after Maryland Death Fest next year. The problem is, like, Primordial is not a professional band. We don't make our living from Primordial. So everybody, as you grow older, you have a lot more responsibilities. So people have work and families, and trying to get that week where you can go down there, and it's been hard. It's not been easy, but we're really trying to get to. We had some offers last year from Mexican festivals. So we're really trying to make one of those new Mexican festivals happen, and then use that as a springboard, really trying to go to Central America. I've been in Central America before with Marduk, actually, and try and play in Colombia and Argentina and go, Peru and stuff would be amazing. And of course, we always end up returning to Spain at some stage. So we have an offer to play, I think, in Portugal for 2 days. So who knows, maybe we can put on some shows in Spain around that.
Sure.
We've had a kind of a summer where we haven't had much to do, and we've literally, of course, because of the pandemic, 2 or 3 years missing of the last 4 or 5. So maybe it's time to try and make up for some of that and do what we can. So hopefully, before the button is pushed and we shuffle off this mortal coil, or I get struck by lightning outside the door, and we are no more, we're going to do our best.
Okay, perfect. Well, I hope to see you here in Mexico, maybe in Mexico Metal Fest or in Candelabrum, which is are great fest. And
Oh, we've had offers that just didn't work out, but I'm very sure, pretty sure next year that we will get there to play.
well, perfect. And thank you very
All right,
much,
Chief.
Alan, for your time. Great day. Thank you.
Estamos con toda la pereza. Suscríbete por aquí, que lo tienes ahí. Lo estoy dejando a huevo, más fácil imposible. Y aquí tienes más vídeos que sé yo que te van a interesar porque te interesa el metal extremo. Así que dale caña.